Okay, I'm here with Peter Schultz from cashflowheaven.com, and we wanted to talk a little bit about gaining an edge in trading and investing. I think that's something that everyone's always looking for. So, Peter, what are your thoughts on that?
Hey, listen, Serge, thank you. So, when somebody first gets into trading, you have to think about, like, what's your edge? And here's what I mean by that. If you're getting into a trade, do you have a mathematical expectation of winning? Do you have all other things being equal, is it more probable that you're going to win or not win? And so I'll tell you, when I first started out, I thought my mathematical edge, I thought my trading edge was how smart I was. And, it's like the most rude awakening in the world to find out that, I don't know if you ever saw any of those old movies where, like, people were getting pies in the face, like every time I would make a trade, I would get a pie in the face. It was like, it was a really good joke, but I was like the brunt of the joke. Like, and not only that, but like I'd see my trading account going down and down and down. And I had to look myself in the mirror one day and go, this is just traumatic, as you can imagine, but I discovered, like, I wasn't really the smartest guy in the room after all. So, you might be the smartest guy, I don't know, or the smartest gal, but I woke up one day and I said, look, if I'm going to have any money left at all, and if I'm going to make any money trading, I need, like, something going for me besides my wits, because obviously that's not working too good. So I looked around, and at that time I was working for a guy that did options trading, and I knew all about options, and I knew calls and puts and all of that kind of stuff. But back then, I was doing like so many people do. I was buying a call on a stock I thought it was going to go up. I was buying a put on a stock I thought was going to go down. And a crazy thing happens. They say, like, stocks are kind of like teenagers. They don't always do what you want them to do. And so I would think it was going to go up, and it was going up and up and up, and I was following the trend line and everything. And then, like, the minute I get in, it's like everybody gets on the phone and goes, okay, he's in. And then the stock just turns around and goes down. Or with a put, the exact, and so, like, I was starting to, like, feel, I don't know if anybody else has felt this way before, but I was starting to feel kind of persecuted. Like, like I'm
They're
really
doing this on purpose.
Yeah, well, I'm just getting,
the world's kind of against you, right?
Yeah, I'm getting hammered. I mean, what do you do? So I had a couple of choices. I could quit, and that's a good choice. But I just kind of felt like, there's all this money floating around in the stock market, and if I could get the right butterfly net, that didn't have a big hole in it, maybe I could catch some of that money, and I could have a better life, and things would be better. So, somebody told me once, I was actually thinking, okay, I'm losing all this money. Everybody else that's trading options is losing all this money. Mm-hmm. Where is all this money going? Is somebody putting it in a big pile and throwing some gasoline on it and lighting it on fire? I mean, is it going to money heaven? Is it disappearing off the planet? What is happening to all this money? And then somebody told me that there's a statistic that something like 80% of options expire worthless. And I'm thinking, man, there's not millions of dollars piling up somewhere. There's like billions of dollars piling up somewhere. And I'm thinking, well, who's getting that money? Who's getting these gigantic dump truckloads of money that are getting just dumped, over and over on every, used to be, the third Friday of the month. Now it's like every Friday, there's expirations. And then suddenly this big light bulb goes on over my head. It's like a big epiphany. I'm hearing the angels singing, and I realized that every option that I ever lost on in my entire life, I bought that option from somebody. And it wasn't the market maker, it wasn't the broker, it was just another guy. Mm-hmm. Like, it could have been you. Like, you could have sold me my option that expired worthless, and then where did all that money go? It doesn't disappear, it doesn't get burned up, it ends up in your account. And I'm thinking, well, what do I have to do to jump on the other side of this trade and get on the winning side of the trade? And I'm going, well, you don't have to take a 4-year course in college. You don't have to get a certificate. You don't have to get a doctorate. You don't have to get a license. You just make a decision one day, I'm going to be an options seller instead of an options buyer.
In fact, if you were to learn that in school, more people would do it.
Right, exactly. And so what I do now is I sell options that I don't think are ever going to see the light of day. And what I mean by that is I think they have, in fact, I never sell an option that doesn't have at least an 80% chance or better of expiring worthless. And so all other things being equal, stocks go up a little bit, they go down a little bit, it's going up and you think it's really going to keep going up, but then it kind of stalls out. If any of those scenarios happen, all other things being equal, you win. Mm-hmm. So here's what's really cool about this, and this is a message I want you to take away if you're listening right now, is you don't have to be so good. You don't have to be perfect. You don't have to be a genius. You don't have to be the smartest guy in the room. Because if you're doing this strategy just like 8 times out of 10 or so, you're just going to win in spite of yourself. Even if you do a Rip Van Winkle right after you put on the trade, you just go to sleep. Or like my buddy says, you do the trade, you go in to take a shower, you slip on a bar of soap, land on your head, and go into a coma, until expiration, you still win most of the time.
Yeah.
And ever since I made that decision, and that was many, many years ago, my whole life has changed. So now I make more money than I lose. My brokerage account goes up. If I want a nicer car, I just go buy a nicer car. If I want to take my family on a vacation, we just go on a vacation.
And it's less nervous if it's trading.
It's so great. You can actually nap basically through the whole thing.
In fact, I encourage them to nap because if you do, then if you don't, you're too closely involved.
Exactly. Right? This is actually one of those trading strategies where the less you look at your computer, the better off you are. So you make more money. It's a better lifestyle. You have a higher probability of winning. So just adding all those up and actually proving it in my own life, I wanted this evangelical campaign to try and convert all of those options buyers into options sellers. But here's what's interesting. So people say, well, if that's true, if everything you're saying is true, there isn't going to be anybody left to buy your options. And I'm thinking, well, look, if I came out and say this is a health video, and I said, guess what, everybody, it's actually better for you to eat steamed broccoli than it is chocolate cake. And I said that. Do you think everybody would just switch from chocolate cake to broccoli overnight?
Right.
I might get 1 or 2 people. Right. And that's the way it is with options. There's never a shortage of greed-crazed speculators, and there never will be. So the people that are lined up to buy your options are going down the street and around the block, and there's a huge line, and we'll never run out of those people.
Yeah. And it's funny, this is a strategy, and that the wealthy, and I'm going to call it the smart money. Some people don't like that term, but they've been doing this forever. This is nothing new. It's just that the retail community, there's a lack of education and a lack of and a lot of times it's fear and greed, and mostly greed in this case, them thinking there's not enough money to be made with selling options. But really, at the end of the day, you should be thinking about the odds.
It's amazing. It's amazing. And we target 25% per trade, which is huge. I mean, this is only for 10 days at a time. And if you get out your little calculator and you figure out, let's see, if I make 25% every 2 weeks for a year, my account just turns into this huge amount. But all the advertising and all the people that are running option services, it's way sexier to talk about doubling your money, tripling your money.
That's right.
And they will tell you about trades that actually, they were triple. What they never tell you is about the 10 trades before that that just turned into a big fat zero. And you're never going to make it to that triple because your brokerage account's going to be gone before you get there.
Well, in fact, I think what most people go through, and it doesn't matter whether you're trading stocks or options or currencies, God forbid, on a short-term time frame, whatever it is, most people have this experience, unfortunately, too many times where they make 5 or 6 trades, and they say, let's say 5 or 6 winners, and then they have 1 or 2 trades that wipe it all out.
Right.
And the odds of that happening with really any strategy are pretty high, but when you're an options seller, you dramatically reduce that with a little bit of
not only that, but I mean, it's even beyond that. Every trade is hedged, but I actually show you how to enter automatic orders that's going to actually cut your potential losses in half. So what I'll do with you, and I'm happy to share some more information. This is just a short video, but if you go to my website at cashflowheaven.com, I'm happy to give you a report on this or whatever, but I can show you where mathematically, if you just do the trades the way that I describe, you don't have to speak English, you don't have to be tall and good looking, you don't have to be a man, you don't have to be a woman, you don't have to be on the Insiders Club, you don't have to belong to some network of movers and shakers. You could be by yourself, overweight, whatever, no high school education. I mean, just fill in the blank, and you can do this. I guarantee you're smart enough to do it. You just follow the instructions, and you will have a mathematical expectation of winning over the long term, and you can actually just completely change your life around. And I really hope you do, because it's really exciting.
Yeah, and just quickly, maybe we'll finish off on this. You said something earlier where we go through all this education, and you think you're smart, and the market is the greatest equalizer.
Well, it's the greatest humbler. It will turn you. It'll humble you. And the more cocky you are, the more you think you're a genius, the bigger pie that's going to end up in your face.
That's exactly right. And that's what's so funny. And I do a lot of statistics, and I see kind of who does well and who does not do well in the market. And it's actually really interesting that a very high percentage of people who don't do well are extremely educated. So doctors, lawyers,
right.
Even people on Wall Street. Because, you know, when you work on Wall Street, you're not necessarily money manager. You could be a salesperson or on the sales trading side, in which case you're not managing money. It's a very, very different...
Well, some of the, I mean, if you watch this stuff or if you read this stuff, some of the greatest hedge fund managers in the world, I mean, these guys are the gods of money, right? They'll have a year where they can't hit a winning trade
Sure.
with a bazooka. You
Sure.
know, they can't.
Yep.
The whole internet's famous with these guys that, you know, they did really good, and then they just drove off a cliff.
Yep.
So I don't even, you know, Serge, to be honest with you, I don't even want to try anymore to be the smartest guy in the room.
No.
That ship has sailed. You know, I got the big rude awakening. I found out that I wasn't. What a shocker. And now I'm just happy to just collect my money like every week.
And I think there is a little bit of actually a very strong tendency for people to think that they have to have all winners. You know, but life is full of ups and downs. For example, Jack Nicklaus, one of the greatest golfers ever, he used to say that he'd wake up some days and he wouldn't be able to hit the ball if it was the size of a football or
Right.
I think he said a soccer ball. I mean, even it's Jack Nicklaus, you know.
Right. He's
And
a pro,
and
one of the best.
Yeah, so you just have to continue. It's the same thing with trading. Of course, you need an edge. But if you know you have a system, I'm going to call it, that works, and with option selling, you definitely have the odds in your favor. It's a matter of continuing and letting the odds play out. You know?
Well, you're exactly right. So this math that I'm talking about, this math that gives you this probability of winning, this isn't any math. This math won the Nobel Prize in 1997 for the mathematicians that created it. They actually created it back in 1973. It's what made the options market possible.
That's right.
Yeah, and that's why the options market started in 1973, because they finally had an options mathematical pricing model that would work. And all we're doing is we're just looking at that pricing model and we're just taking advantage of it. We're getting on the steepest part of the time decay curve. You're getting basically everything going for you that you possibly can have going for you. You have let me put it like this. If your buddy took you out in the backyard and he said, we're going to flip a coin, and the way this coin is weighted, so it comes up, you're going to say call heads every time. So this coin is weighted so it comes up heads 80% of the time, and you know that. Mm-hmm. And every time it comes up heads, you get $1,000. Mm-hmm. And so my question is, how long would you stay out there in the backyard flipping that coin? If you had an 80% of it coming up heads, and every time it came up heads, you got $1,000. And my suggestion is you'd probably stay out there until it got so dark you couldn't see anymore.
That's right.
And that's what we're doing in the options market. Yeah. And it'll never go away. No. You know, good times, bad times, it really doesn't matter if the market's going up, down, sideways. It just works.
Yeah, exactly. And I'll end on this. There are different ways of making the options selling methodologies work. Peter has one. I have another, although it's obviously very similar. You know, there are little nuances that depending on your time frame that you're looking at and your strategy or your style, I guess, is a little different. But anyway, thank you, Peter. Much appreciated.
You're very welcome. Thanks for having me.
I'm Serge Berger from The Steady Trader. This is Peter from cashflowheaven.com. Thank you so much.